Okay, so the objective of this quick presentation is an introduction to calculus and to show actually how easy it is, provided that one has mastered some of the earlier topics of math that are the basics in order to understand and practice calculus. When you do calculus, pretty much look at it as a journey towards the infinitely small and the infinitely big. So we will see those concepts applied in what are the type of problems in life that calculus has allowed mankind to solve. So we'll just review quickly some of the topics and concepts that were covered in earlier math class. Mostly what we call the linear algebra, what we call the graph of a line. And from there we see how we migrate to the concept of calculus. You remember when we studied lines on a graph, the familiar picture here. You could have a line like this. The only thing important when we talk about line, as you know, are two parameters. Something we call the slope and something we call the intercept. And that will be the only concept we need to proceed further into studying calculus. If you remember, the equation of a line is something like y equal ax plus b. In this ax plus b, we know the value b is where we are intersecting the y-axis. So this will be the b value here. This intercept. And the slope a pretty much would be how steep the line is or is not. In other words, a line could be like this or could be like this. So these three lines obviously have different slopes. And the slope is captured by the coefficient of x in the equation of the line, if you remember. Now let's go and review again some of the concept and property of the line that we will need in this lesson. Another property of the line is, for instance, when you look on the axis x and y-axis, a line could come like this, or it can come like this. In the first example, we say the line let's say increasing. We accept to say a line is increasing, and just to illustrate the concept, we don't say a line is increasing, but let's say it's increasing. And the other line is decreasing. Once we know what makes a line increase or decrease, in other words, what parameter determine that, we are well into our way into calculus. And you will see which part of calculus. If we have an equation of the line equal y equal 2x, let me see, 2x plus 5, for instance. Obviously, when x increases, in other words, we are going from the left to the right, the bigger value of x goes to the right. Then 2 times x becomes bigger also as x become bigger. Plus 5, then it's bigger, see? And therefore, we can see that as x is becoming bigger and bigger, y also will become bigger and bigger. That's why we say this line or this function actually is increasing. The function is increasing. A function is any representation of the y with an expression containing x. That's an expression and that's a function. If you look at the other line, it's the opposite, because we see that as the value of x increases, like we are here, this is a big value of x, you see the y is lower here. When x was smaller, here, much smaller than this one, so this x is much smaller, but it has a bigger y here. In that case, we see that if x increases, if x increases, if x becomes bigger, y becomes smaller here. And if x is smaller here, y becomes bigger here. Okay, the smaller value of x corresponds to the bigger value of y, and the bigger value of x here give here a smaller value of y. So that is what we have. Okay, so we'll stop here and we'll resume later for the next and start the calculus concept. See you later.